For the next topic, we have these learners with difficulty remembering and focusing. So, this section we will learn about the students who find it difficult to remember the lessons, concepts, and even instructions as well, as those who find it a challenge to sustain their focus. So, for the definition, the International Classification of Functioning, Disability, and Health of the World Health Organization provides definitions of specific mental functions and focusing. So, okay, we have these two types of functions, the memory functions and attention. Okay, memory functions involves encoding, storage, and retrieval of information over time. So we have these three types of memory: short-term, long-term, and retrieval. So first, let's have the short-term memory. It is a mental resources that allow for storing information temporarily for only approximately 30 seconds, after which is lost if strategies are not used to integrate them into long-term memory. So, this means that short-term memory is kanang bitaw after 30 seconds or mga gamay lang gud kayong minutes or seconds limot na dayon ka kung sa tibog ginuhon na, like for example nga nganong dinaog day ka sa ubos unsa dito mong tuyo, di ba? Nganong nilakaw ka, hala unsa dito kong gipalit. So that's all, that's for that short-term memory example, kanang sa gamay lang nga oras malimtan din nimo. So now let's have the long-term memory. It is a mental resources that allow for storing information for a long period of time. So example for this is gonna be a student na ginabully siya sa atong elementary, and then nakali siya classmate gyapon to niya ginabully. So when that person asks her a help, di niya ginatabangan because ma-remember niya nga yung sa siya, kasakitan siya, then pa siya mutabang nun siya. So that is a kana bitaw long-term memory sa kadugay ng panahon may duman gyapon niya. So for the third one is retrieval. It is a mental resources used to recall information stored in long-term memory. So let's have this example na yung mga accident bitaw na which is saksi ka na. Tapos, sa kadugay ng panahon, syempre, yung mga marites, nag-wonder sila, ano dito sila sa una, and then, ikaw po, utro po kang tabian, utro po kang babaon, or marites, ikaw po, i-share po niyo mo, dumag na po sa mga details, katulad ng sakto, buutan ka nga marites, bitaw, detail to detail, sa gitinoon, so, tanan gipang, ingon nimo sa gitinoon na itabo, and that is example of retrieval, na recall information, na dugay na bitaw, so, for the second functions, the attention functions, it involves focusing of mental resources on a stimulus for a required time period. So we have these three: sustained, selective, and dividing. So first, what is sustained attention? It is a mental resources used to maintain attention for an extended period, also called vigilance, or vigilance is a sustained. Okay, so example for this is gonna be we have Miss Stephanie Rosalejo. So kanang kanang paborito kani mo basa bitag Wattpad. So nagbasa siya usa ka story sa Wattpad without any interruption until nahuman siya. So sustained attention, it means kana bitaw nakafocus ka without any interruption. So okay. So next, let's have the selective attention. So it is a mental resources that allow for focusing on a specific stimulus that is important while ignoring others. So this mean is kana bitaw samtang imong teacher nga nag-discuss, or me samtang ga report ko, then you have your attention also sa imo napoy nakitabi nimo or nalingaw po kag lantaw og K-drama dira samtang na ina klase. So that's what ko nga kana bitaw pero imo yung attention is naasa nag-report mo lang yung mata ang nakasunod sa imong gilantaw nga K-drama is that kanabitang you have these two types of kanabitang pwede nimo paminawon ba nakafocus ka pun ka sa nag-report. Sorry. So now let's have the last one, the dividing attention. Dividing attention, it is a mental resources that involves focusing on one more activities or tasks simultaneously. So example for this is we have Miss Maricel Olivia, diba? Na naka-VP Miss your attention is na kanabitang na-divide na gid siya sa nagbantay kag bata, makakuan siya o kanang naminaw siya klase, sa pag sa minaw klase is kanang pwede pa siya magtimpla og gata. So that is a kind of a multitask nga means kang pag-unsa nimo ka busy kanang kaya gyapon nimo bitaw usang imuhang attention, di ba? So okay, let's have the learning disability or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, are characterized by having difficulties with memory and attention functions. The subsequent sections present the definition, identification, and learning characteristic for each disability. So first, the learning disability. It was Samuel Kirk who coined the term learning disability in 1962 when he met with parents and families as they discussed about students who encountered pronounced difficulties in school despite having average to above average intelligence. So just like when I was a child until now, naglisod gyapon bitaw ko pronounce or sa mga correct pronunciation sa mga word by word. For example, kay ang kanang ready. So, mura ko kanang unsa ba kita like reading reading o ready sa gahi kayo basta mag-start sa R lisod kay para sa ako. So okay, we have this common components of learning disabilities. So first, intellectual functioning within a normal range. So this refers to general mental capacity. For the second one is significant gap or discrepancy between a student's assumed potential and actual achievements. It is something missing from a situation that prevents it being complete or satisfactory. Third one is inference that learning disability is not primarily caused by the other disabilities or intrinsic factors. So, pasabot ani kung bungol ka, libat ka, amang, pungkol, unsa man imong ang imuhang kuan sanay kanang disabilities, dili na siya naka-affect nganong kuan ka sa imuhang learning disabilities. Okay, so for the fourth one is difficulty in learning in one or more academic areas, and the last one is presumption of CNS dysfunction. CNS is a central nervous system or brain and spinal cord. So for learning disabilities, it is a general term that refers to a heterogeneous group of disorders manifested by significant difficulties in the acquisition and use of listening, speaking, reading, writing, reasoning, or mathematical abilities. These disorders are intrinsic to the individual, presumed to be due to central nervous system dysfunction, and may occur across the lifespan. So, we have these different types of specific learning disabilities for each type of difficulty, namely dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. So, first, dyslexia is characterized by difficulties with accurate or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and word reading abilities that result from a deficit in phonological processing abilities. So, also called reading disability, dyslexia affects areas of the brain that process language. So, for example, like I said ganina, spelling and word reading abilities. So, kanang pag mabasang student, kanang dili tanan words by words iya makita or sentences mabasa niya diretso or para pa na ng mga spelling. So, mga kaya niya mo spelling o ganang things spell things pero pag-abot na sa spell assessment so or infographic lisod na para sa iya or dili niya magkadimaw ang iyang pag-spelling. So for the dyscalculia, a specific learning disability that affects how students acquire and develop their arithmetic skills. Arithmetic, it is the simplest and most widely used measures of a mean of average arithmetic words is from the math. So continue skills despite average intelligence. So may manifest as difficulty in retrieval of math facts and understanding number concepts or using symbols or functions. So klaro man siguro kayo na. So for the last one is dysgraphia, a specific learning disability that affects the development of writing abilities, which may display as spelling, handwriting, and expressive writing difficulties resulting from problems in organizing and putting thoughts on paper. So, kanina siya, kanang sa essay, bitaw example na siya ka essay, mga buhat pa impronto essay ana. Second one, ADHD, which mean attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. So DSM-5, American Psychiatric Association 2013, provides the diagnostic criteria for ADHD, which include inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivities, and a combination of the two. So we're going to tackle this lately. So for a child to be diagnosed with ADHD, the observed behavior should meet the following criteria. So we have these 4 criteria. First is display a persistent pattern for at least 6 months that significantly interferes with functioning or development. Second, observe in 2 or more settings like at home, school, work, with friends or relatives, and in other activities. Third one is several of the symptoms represent before the age of 12 years. The fourth one is the behaviors are not resulting from other disorders like schizophrenia, anxiety disorder, and personality disorder, etc. So now, as what I said lately, I'm going to tackle the inattention and the hyperactivity and impulsivity. So inattention signs of ADHD does not pay attention to data and works in a haphazard manner, resulting in careless mistakes like schoolworks, at work, and other activities. Next, find it's difficult to sustain inattention in tasks. Next, is easily distracted and sidetracked by extraneous stimuli. Next is often does not follow through on instruction and fails to finish schoolwork or duties in the workplace. Next, appears not to listen or distracted when spoken to directly. Next, has difficulty following instruction, resulting in unfinished work. Next, shows a tendency to be forgetful and delay tasks and routines. Next, has problems in organizing tasks and activities. And the last one is tends to lose things that are needed to for schoolwork and other activities. So for the hyperactivity and impulsivity, these two are so naiusa rin sila. So first is often restless and fidgety and cannot seem to stay still while sitting down. Next, often stands from seat to room around the room. Next, often runs around or climbs in situations when sitting is required. Next is often rather talkative interactions in conversations and blurts responses. Next is finds it difficult to wait for one's turn in tasks and activities. Next is impulsive with words and actions. And the lesson is may struggle in following instructions and rushes through tasks. So I think it's clearly understanding, right? So next is for the B, identification. Identifying the students with learning disability and ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, begins with the parents and teachers. So I believe na magsugod gila siya sa kano ang pagtudlo sa parents. Dili man kinahalan pa ma-teacher ang parents. No, it's even man lang sa good moral, di ba? Or respect. And next, for the teachers, the presence of difficulties in mental functions provided in table 6.8 and the behaviors enumerated in table 6.9 as well as meeting the provided. So criteria for persistent and consistent in more than one setting may created the impetus for parents to consult a specialist and for teachers to apply pre-referral strategies before referring the student for special education testing. So we have Rosalejos for the continuation of the report. Thank you.